Welcome to the second community conversation in our Midtown Connector Transportation Improvement Project video series. The project is a proposed public-private partnership that would integrate significant surface and interstate transportation improvements with an elevated park over the portion of I-75-85 known as the Connector from North Avenue to 10th Street. In today's conversation called Inspiring Inspiration, we'll take a deep dive into the projects around the world that inspired and informed our work and how this project is being developed. Let's start close to home in the heart of Atlanta. The I-75-85 connector is 14 lanes of highway that physically divide the city. When the highway opened in 1947, it was made up of a city grid. But as Atlanta grew, the highway was widened multiple times to keep up with traffic demand. In the process, the number of east-west cross streets has been significantly reduced. The Midtown Connector Transportation Improvement Project would modernize the connector by repairing traffic and safety problems, as well as by reintroducing a series of cross streets and replacing environmental features that were lost through the creation of a proposed deck park over the highway. As we take a look back at this aerial view of Atlanta from the late 1800s, it shows Georgia Tech as a single building on the hill along North Avenue, and Midtown as a series of elegant homes along Peachtree Street. The site of the proposed deck park, highlighted in green, is shown as rolling pasture with Tenured Creek running through it. Our vision for the park would be to recall the land and water of this Piedmont landscape and recapture that character in the park. As you can see, with the growth of the city, a grid of streets filled in the area of Midtown and Georgia Tech, and the plan for the interstate eliminated cross streets, allowing only North Avenue 5th and 10th Streets to bridge over the highway. Transformed from a 4-lane parkway to a 14-lane interstate highway, the connector lost its parkway landscape and is now fully confined within concrete walls. As we began to develop a new vision for the connector, we examined similar projects around the country and around the world to gain design inspiration and garner practical experience from those who have gone before us and show how this could be done. Let's take a look at a few of those projects. Completed in 1948, the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway is a 65-acre 3-deck structure immediately along the Brooklyn Heights waterfront, created by urban planner Robert Moses. The structure carries 3 westbound lanes on the lower level, 3 eastbound lanes on the middle level, and a park and promenade on the upper level. It aimed to relieve traffic congestion and give Brooklyn direct access to Midtown Manhattan. The 30-acre park contains green space, gardens, and 3 soccer fields. The deck is also home to 3 hotels. In the Midwest, the I-35 Extension Project is a collection of 4 cut-and-cover tunnels and decking used to link the waterfront and community amenities, reconnecting downtown Duluth, Minnesota to Lake Superior. Completed in 1992, the 49-acre project features restaurants, retail, and a hotel, plus green space and a walking trail. It has preserved the city's historic district, integrated the 2.3-mile freeway segment into the rest of the city, improved pedestrian access to the Lake Superior waterfront, and ultimately spawned the revitalization of downtown Duluth. Completed over a short 4 years as part of the Olympic Games in 1992, Barcelona's 104-acre Mall de la Fusta is a platform designed on the waterfront that extends to the seafront between the districts of Barceloneta and the southern foothills of Montjuic. The port is regarded as one of the most influential developments in Spain, with a collection of cafes, promenades, and green space built on top of the coastal roadway, now used for heavy transport. Chicago's iconic Bean may look familiar. It's located in Millennium Park, a 24.5-acre public park covering a section of northwestern Grant Park in an area previously occupied by roadway, railway, rail yards, parking lots, and a smaller, underutilized park. It's considered the largest rooftop garden in the world. The park features several iconic artistic works and provides venues for performance, art, sculptures, architecture, and a beautiful landscape. Millennium Park strove to elevate Chicago's image by achieving several things: transforming the dilapidated parking lots and rail yard into a landscape venue for free public programming, creating one-of-a-kind public art spaces as a gift to the residents of Chicago, and laying the foundation for future private residential and commercial development in the surrounding area. New York City's High Line is a nearly 1.5-mile-long elevated linear park, greenway, and rail trail created on a former New York Central Railroad spur on the west side of Manhattan. Visitors can stroll through gardens, view art, experience a performance, or enjoy a meal with friends while taking in a unique elevated perspective of New York City. The Central Artery Tunnel project in Boston, known as the Big Dig, rerouted Interstate 93, the chief highway through the heart of the city, into a modern tunnel to alleviate traffic congestion on Boston's historically tangled streets. The 25-acre, mile-long Rose Kennedy Greenway Deck Park was completed in 2008 and features green space, parks, and gardens. Hundreds of free events are offered annually, such as markets, festivals, fitness classes, film series, and more. The project reconnects some of Boston's oldest, most iconic, diverse, and vibrant neighborhoods and welcomes millions of visitors annually. Finally, Clyde Warren Park in downtown Dallas is a 5.2-acre public-use park located over Woodall Rogers Freeway. The deck supports urban green space and provides connectivity from the city's arts district to adjacent neighborhoods. The park, completed in 2013, features flexible, pedestrian-oriented design and includes a children's park, reading room, great lawn, restaurant, performance pavilion, fountain plaza, games area, urban dog park, and botanical garden around a sweeping pedestrian promenade. All of these projects provided significant lessons in the what, where, why, and how of their efforts. They each identified beneficiaries early in the process, many combining funding campaigns to cover both capital and operational expenses, and none relying solely on a single source of funding to make them happen. As we researched all of these sites, we saw firsthand the benefits of thinking big. Finding continuity in the vision between public, corporate, civic, and organizational leadership was important for smooth project delivery. And we found creating an inclusive space and programming is key, providing flexibility to allow everyone to feel welcome, to do the things they want to do, and having the foresight to design for future change as the community lives, learns, and grows. We learned that restoring active transportation while integrating ecology within a park with a variety of intentional programming, such as festivals, performances, and organized recreation, is a critical part of the success of all the projects. In our research, we saw that many decks end at a cross street open to the highway below, creating significant noise issues in those adjacent parts of the parks. From that lesson, we were inspired by the idea of allowing for signature bookend buildings at each end of the park to organize operations, anchor the park, and block out that noise. Another area of our research focused on the design of the proposed collector streets and cross streets that would reconnect the city grid. Building on the inspiration of our peers, we envisioned the use of complete streets throughout the project. This term refers to roads that provide for safe passage of vehicles, pedestrians, cyclists, and public transit. Complete streets allow for all forms of mobility for all people throughout a district or along key corridors. We aspire for all of the proposed streets within the project area to be fitted with sidewalks, street trees, and other pedestrian amenities, affording safety, health, comfort, and convenience. All of the streets would also accommodate cyclists, with some streets having dedicated bicycle lanes and others having shared street signage to alert drivers of the presence of cyclists. Regional transit service would continue to be accommodated on North Avenue, 5th Street, and 10th Street for city buses and Georgia Tech shuttles to traverse all 8 cross streets. A key aspect of the Midtown Connector Transportation Improvement Project would be the transformation of existing roadways into 2 parallel tunnels with a concrete deck or cap over top. Other cities' experience shows the essential need to focus on a combined vision for an inclusive and multi-use park, in concert with a free-flowing, safe, and comfortable experience for vehicles. To that end, the tunnels would have ample lighting, cameras, and other technology operating at all times so that the driver experience would be safe and secure. Our team has researched a variety of tunnel portals around the world. Sculptural forms, bright colors, and bold lighting schemes have been used in many tunnels around the world to create a communication bridge between the travelers below and the community above. We are exploring such options for the Midtown Connector Transportation Improvement Project, but we also admire the elegant simplicity of an evergreen forest used at the Mercer Island Park in Seattle to signify entry to its tunnels. The many completed projects across the country and around the world provide outside inspiration, but we are equally inspired by Atlanta's own unique identity and intrinsic character. Known as a city in the forest, our region's Piedmont geology, ecology, and tree canopy underlie and wash over our neighborhoods. Celebrating those features is a key part of the vision for the park. We would also take inspirational cues from the region's signature Piedmont topography, as we would echo that with rolling hills in the park. Did you know our region is home to the Brevard Fault, a 600-mile-long rift formed by the collision and release of the African and North American continents millions of years ago? The fault from the mountains to the sea is visible today at the Palisades of the Chattahoochee River in Buckhead and has inspired us to propose a sequence of stone features, highlighted by a pair of stone walls with a water feature, symbolizing the two continents and creating an immersive place for contemplation in the city. You may not have known about the Brevard Fault, but you will recognize our next inspiration, Georgia's renowned natural stone formations. These granite outcrops that shape the landscape of southern North Georgia include Arabia Mountain and Panola Mountain. We are intrigued by the idea of creating a granite monolith for small gatherings and grounding in the park. Given the location in the heart of the tech community, we are drawn to the idea of a man-made version of that natural feature, in the form of a geodesic dome of granite. In addition, we looked at the geometry of nature throughout the region. In water, leaves, rocks, and clouds, we see shapes and patterns. We are interested in bringing natural patterns into the park in the form of pathways, play areas, paving, and plantings. The images shown here are mathematical formulas that result in natural feeling patterns. These spiral and circular whorls prevalent throughout the region have been used by designers for centuries to create memorable landscapes. We would introduce the patterns to also make the park feel comfortable, fun, and familiar as a natural experience. We envision playful experiences emulating a multitude of land and water forms, from seasonal pools to temporary rain streams to coastal beaches. For buildings in the park, we believe that we should apply a biomorphic approach to the form and materials of the architecture. Biomorphic is a term that refers to the patterns of living organisms occurring at the intersection of humanity and nature. Biomorphic design would offer us the opportunity to simultaneously transform and celebrate the contrast and cohabitation of city life, urbanization, and the natural environment. Our goal would be to create a fusion of architecture and landscape so that the boundaries between the two would be blurred and they would be seen as one dynamically integrated urban experience. The park's outdoor event space would take its cue from our southern climate through a nod to the sky and clouds. We imagine that in the summer, a series of fountains might rain down on children in the park, allowing for play and providing misty, cool relief. In other seasons, it could be a picnic shelter, small performance venue, or food festival pavilion. We would tap into the burgeoning innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology hub that is now Atlanta and its ability to connect as the inspiration for a central pavilion. It would have an immersive circle of audio-video screens to allow communication, education, performances, or sports to be viewed in a communal setting, a modern version of the traditional speaker's corner of yesteryear. To continue the theme of fusing nature and technology, the frame structure might have living vines on the outside, appearing to be a bosque of trees, while the inside would be technology-driven, changing daily, monthly, and yearly. Part of our vision for the park is for it to become a showplace for the performing arts from across the region and beyond. We have proposed an outdoor amphitheater with lawn seating for up to 4,000 people. The band shell would be a signature building, rising gracefully out of the landscape, mimicking the hills of the Piedmont during the day and glowing as a beacon at night. A serpentine trail would consist of an elevated walkway that would wind and soar over the park. We envision this feature moving like the flow of water in the river and streams of the Piedmont, or curving like the terrain of the Great Smoky Mountains and Blue Ridge Parkway. This flat, meandering, and elevated pathway would complement a ground-level multi-purpose walkway traversing the length of the park. Meant for pedestrians only, the serpentine pathway would be fully accessible, quiet, and less congested, allowing users to wander and linger at their own pace. Combined, these two pathways would entwine to create a 2-mile loop for people to casually stroll, hike, or jog, largely uninterrupted along the full length of the park. Our team's research and analysis over the last 2 years working on the project's feasibility study has inspired us to seek out a simple, elegant project design that reflects the special character of our region and the needs of its residents. The project would build a greener heart for Atlanta, affording mobility for all and becoming a green space like no other, a place for daily living, social engagements, recreation, seasonal festivities, and annual celebrations for residents and visitors alike. The Midtown Connector Transportation Improvement Project, with its mobility and green space improvements, would reconnect Atlanta and become a unifying oasis instead of a dividing edge. What has for decades been a backdoor barrier would become a new front porch, patio, and playscape, and a more prominent address for both existing institutions and future buildings, signaling a new common ground for 21st century Atlanta. As you can see, we have been inspired by projects near and far, enlightening us with their lessons learned and providing us with compelling references. This research has given us the tools to create what would be a rich and uniquely Atlanta experience. In addition, our deep dive into design has influenced our plans for the project's key solutions. In our next video, Free to Move, we'll take a look at the proposed complex and profound transportation and connectivity elements of the project. We hope you'll join us then, and be sure to visit our website, abetterconnector.com. Your input is vital to the success of this project.